You've probably heard yes in a meeting and thought, great, we're aligned. Then, 2 weeks later, nothing moves, priorities shift, and everyone's suddenly confused. That's because there are two types of yes: hearing yes and experiencing yes. And the difference between them can decide whether your team ships great work or quietly burns out while pretending everything's fine. Let's start with the version of yes that causes the most damage. In business, hearing yes often means superficial agreement. Someone verbally affirms a plan, a deadline, or a decision, without real understanding or genuine commitment. It can sound supportive, but it's often just a shortcut to avoid tension. A way to keep the conversation moving, a way to maintain harmony, a way to dodge complexity. What a confirmation yes looks like. A confirmation yes has a few obvious traits once you notice them. First, it usually follows closed-ended questions. Things like, we're happy with this timeline, yeah? Or, everyone aligned? Those questions don't invite thinking, they invite compliance. Second, the non-verbal cues often don't match the words. Minimal body language. No questions, no curiosity, no energy. And third, it shuts the conversation down. It doesn't open a door to collaboration, it closes it. And when that becomes normal, you get a culture where people feel their input isn't wanted, so they stop offering it. Where this shows up in meetings and negotiations. In meetings, people say yes to keep momentum. Someone agrees to a project timeline without properly understanding the constraints, and later the project slips, not because the team is incompetent, but because the agreement was never real. In negotiations, yes can also mean polite acknowledgement, not commitment. It sounds like alignment, but it's actually, I've heard you. Then expectations diverge, and both sides feel misled. What superficial agreement does to teams. Over time, superficial yes erodes trust. People become frustrated because they feel like they're being forced into agreements without true buy-in. That creates disengagement, and it stifles innovation. Because innovation needs challenge. It needs disagreement. It needs alternative options on the table. But if yes is the safest response, nobody risks saying, I'm not sure that works. I see a problem. I don't agree with the assumption. How it leads to burnout and lower quality work. And here's the kicker. Superficial agreement doesn't reduce work. It just postpones the hard part. So the team ends up firefighting later, rushing to meet unrealistic deadlines, fixing avoidable mistakes, patching decisions that were never properly discussed. That's how quality drops, and that's how burnout creeps in, not from the workload alone, but from the emotional exhaustion of pretending everything's fine. Here's the entire problem in one line. A shallow yes avoids truth, creates misalignment. That's it. Superficial agreement is a conflict avoidance mechanism, but it trades short-term comfort for long-term dysfunction. It blocks difficult conversations. It breaks real alignment. It increases stress. It scatters focus. And over time, it harms performance and morale. So the question becomes, how do you move from hearing yes to experiencing yes? Experiencing yes is different. It feels different in the room. Genuine engagement is when people actively participate, challenge ideas respectfully, and build towards a shared outcome. It's not about being positive all the time, it's about being present. A genuine yes doesn't just acknowledge, it commits, it collaborates, it contributes. What a real yes signals. When someone gives a genuine yes, they're effectively saying, I understand what we're doing, I buy into the outcome, I'm willing to help shape it and deliver it. And that changes everything, because the conversation becomes a working session, not a performance. The yes and mindset. This is where yes and matters. It's not just a fun phrase from improvisation, it's a practical behaviour. You accept what's been offered, then you build on it, and you move the idea forward, instead of yes, but, which often shuts people down, yes, and keeps momentum while still allowing improvement. It creates a culture where ideas don't die in the room, they evolve. Techniques to build on ideas. If you want to make this real, here are a few behaviors that shift the tone immediately. Use open-ended questions. What would make this stronger? What assumptions are we making? What could break this plan? Practice active listening. Summarize what someone said before you add your point. Not as a tactic, as proof you actually heard them. Reframe challenges as design problems. Not, that won't work, but what would need to be true for this to work? These small behaviors change the entire temperature of a meeting. Why active listening is the backbone. Active listening is the foundation of genuine engagement. When people feel heard, they contribute more. When they contribute more, ideas improve. When ideas improve, outcomes improve. It creates a feedback loop. Engagement produces engagement. And you see this in strong teams, tech teams, creative teams, product teams, where brainstorming isn't a theatre show, it's real collaboration. So how do you get there in practice? Adopt yes and deliberately. Leaders set the tone. If someone shares an idea and the default reaction is dismissal, people stop sharing. But if the default reaction is curiosity, even when the idea isn't perfect, people lean in. A simple response like, yes, and we could strengthen it by, invites contribution without pretending everything is brilliant. Improve trust through active listening. Use basic active listening techniques consistently. Summarize, clarify, ask follow-ups, check assumptions. It's not soft, it's efficient. It reduces misinterpretation and prevents rework. Learn from no properly. Also, a healthy culture doesn't fear no. A no can be useful if it comes with information. Not, no, that's rubbish. But, no, and here's why. Budget, timing, risk, focus. That turns rejection into refinement. Understand cultural contexts of yes. And if you work globally, remember, yes doesn't always mean agreement. In some cultures, yes can signal respect or understanding, not commitment. If you miss that nuance, you'll mistake politeness for alignment. So ask better questions. What concerns do you have? What would stop this working? What would you change? Create a safe environment. Psychological safety isn't fluff. It's a prerequisite for honest work. If people fear consequences for disagreeing, you don't get truth. You get performance. Leaders build safety by modeling it, admitting uncertainty, acknowledging mistakes, rewarding candor. When a team moves from hearing yes to experiencing yes, the results are obvious. Innovation increases because people stop protecting themselves and start contributing. Ideas compound. Creative solutions emerge. And teams explore possibilities instead of defending egos. Relationships strengthen. Trust grows when people feel listened to and respected. Conflict decreases, not because people avoid it, but because they handle it properly. Decisions improve. Collaborative input leads to better decisions and higher commitment to execution. People support what they help shape. Customer experiences improve. And it doesn't stay internal. Aligned teams deliver clearer work, better communication, and more consistent outcomes. Customers feel it immediately. Long-term growth becomes easier. Engaged cultures adapt faster, perform better, and retain talent longer. That's what makes a business resilient, not just strategy, but the quality of agreement inside the organization. So here's the core message. Hearing yes can be superficial. It can be politeness, avoidance, or compliance. Experiencing yes is commitment. It's engagement, collaboration, and shared ownership. If you're a founder or team leader, your job isn't to collect yes. Your job is to create the conditions where people can be honest and still work together. So reflect for a moment. Where in your work do you hear yes, but experience resistance later? And what would change if you designed for genuine engagement instead? Because the best teams don't agree quickly, they align properly. Thank you for watching.